Hello, how are you now? Welcome to another Nezzo's Bad Shop video. This is a chassis plate swap, and this chassis slash car is a car that was named by the previous owner, a teammate of mine, Jay Henry, and this car is named Aunt Viv, after first season's Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's character Aunt Viv, and so it's developed a personality and has a really cool, unique, strictly sideways edition YD-2 plate. This was custom, but it looks cool, and so we're trying to preserve that. But also, I wanted to put one of the new, excuse me, Yokomo YD-2 high traction plates. This one is the one that I call Bendy Wendy because there's like next to nothing on it, and there's lots of flex and bendiness going on. This one's actually just called the high traction plate. Then another one was released called the lightweight flex chassis. I call that one Flexi Lexi. And there's another video of me doing that swap, plate swap of that on my channel. You can go find it. And they just released another one called the high traction narrow edition. So it's kind of like a combo of this one and the other plate, and it forces the battery to mount inline, whereas this plate and the second plate they released, high traction ones, you can do it lengthwise. Excuse me, my throat is not cooperating. So, if I drop this here, you can see where the screws line up. So everything lines up, of course. But look at the difference in what's missing in terms of what they've cut away. So, yeah, so this is going to be good. It's going to change the characteristic of this car, but that's okay. I'm looking for a change. Now, very first thing I'm going to do to make this plate swap easier is remove the shocks from the lower arms so everything is loose and droopy and not under any pressure or load. And then I'm going to do the bulkhead screws first. Bulkhead slash transmission, excuse me. And then the toe blocks last. Battery plate and front bumper will be done after I get the chassis back onto the car. And the only other difference between this plate swap and the other one I've done, which is on my channel, is the first one I did, the car was a roller except for a servo. There was no other electronics in it, no speed control, motor, gyro, or receiver. And this car is fully wired and is a runner. This thing is an active car. So I've disengaged some double-sided tape here for the ESC and a couple other areas. So, without further ado, let's go. I'm going to do the bulkheads first. I'm using my Dewalt power driver with locking clutch. I spent years and years using the manual mode, and I'm tired of killing my wrists. So, in terms of having to turn a screwdriver, this saves me time on the workbench because I'm track mechanic, and I try to get stuff done quick but efficiently. Oh. There we go. I'm wondering if these spacers under here from this SX1, this is an SX1 converted to rear, so first gen SX1, getting basically a plate from like the SX3 era here. Alright, now bulkhead. That clicking you're hearing is the locking clutch. Sometimes you gotta manually crack the screw. 1, 2, 1, 2. Gotta keep the right positioning. See, this one's really long for the SX1, so it goes all the way down and through. All right, now for the rear ends, transmission, 4 screws. The trick now is to keep the toe blocks as assembled as possible for the suspension so you can drop it on and off. If it falls apart, it's not like a major deal, but it usually can happen if you don't have a jig or anything and you're kind of doing this by kind of the way I'm doing it right now. I'm going to change this just to make my life a little easier. Flip that around. Okay. So I'm going to do the rear first, take the rear out, and then do the front. But what I'm going to do first is crack, pre-loosen, so to say, every screw so they're not tight or fighting me, and potentially move the chassis around. Because once I take off the toe blocks, everything is only connected by the upper end, the upper deck, top chassis plate. Okay, so there's the front loosened off, and by taking the shocks off like I did in the very beginning, you have total looseness, so everything just kind of droops. Excuse me. Everything just droops, in this case, downward, which essentially is upward if you flip the chassis back normal. So, alright, so that's that. Now I'm going to do this very carefully and slowly, not try to go full throttle. The only reason is because if you go full throttle, sometimes you'll jerk the parts around, jerk the chassis around, and then that results in your parts and stuff floating around and moving around. Because the idea is we're trying to preserve the assembly so that we don't have to take it all apart. And you can reach around like I am, reach around the chassis and hold the toe blocks in place as you unscrew things. That also is a good idea. And then just hopefully let it droop there. Okay, that is literally sitting loose, hanging there. Now I'm going to do the front side. Remember, I pre-loosened everything to make my life easy. And I like to go star pattern. Get that guy out. And this guy. One more. Now I'm going to try to just keep this assembled. Oh, she's getting loose. Yeah, she got a little loose there. Okay, so just going to hold it in place. Try to get my fingers in there. This one's going to put up a bit of a fight, I think. This particular car. Not that it's a bad car or anything, it's just because I've got the speed control still partially stuck to the plate. It's going to be fun. Now the front suspension's already flopping around, flopping forward here, so I'm hoping I can just get it to sit and rest somewhere here. The plate is loose. Everything is loose. You see this? And my suspension's already falling apart. Not worried about that part. That's an easy fix later on. It's more of this front suspension, and it's just rolling around. Okay, see if I can just get it to just chill. Just sit somewhere, would you? It's not going to cooperate, I don't think. So in scenarios like this, you might have to hold it or have a friend hold it, but you can actually do it by yourself. You just got to get your fingers and hands in the position. There. See, like I've pinched this here enough that it'll just hold it in place. Okay. Now, will I get lucky and this will kind of come right off? No, it'll come off except for that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're gonna be tricky. Alright, so I have to drop the speed control. See if I can get it. There we go. Yeah, you heard that? I pre-loosened it, so just trying to do it whilst not knocking around the front suspension or the rear suspension too much. Oh, I got it. Ha 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 ha, I got it. You go over there. See, the front of the suspension here is just chilling. Just chilling. The front suspension is slightly falling apart. See, this is what I was worried about, but because I'm holding it, it hasn't totally fallen apart. Your life easy. The upper side you won't have to worry about. It's just literally these toe blocks. The suspension mounts. Get in there, get in there. Come on now, come on now. Ooh, where are you? There you go. Alright, so I'm going to hold these, because these are not cooperating as such. Alright, so the trick now, and we'll bring it back in line. There we go. You can rest it against this bulkhead too. So I gotta hold it just so, just in line. Okay. Next plate, let's go. Yeah. Now there's way more space here to grab on this. So in reinstalling this particular one won't be as hard. Because I can actually grab front to back. Look at that. Oh, that's going to be nice. Let's see here. Just hold it. Yeah. Well, I think I can get away with just holding it off the front side and then popping screws in. Okay, so one by one. You can do it by the finger, or if you have another, what you call it, driver handy. 2mm screws. Just gotta find it. Oh, it's not straight. Hold on. There we go. Now I dropped a screw, so I'm gonna grab another one. There, find the hole. Line it up. You know, I did this last time with the driver in hand, magnetic screw. See if this works. But I'm doing this opposite hand this time. Haha. How ambidextrous am I? And if you do this with a driver and a magnetic tip, like a power driver, go slow at this part. Oh. Just get it spinning. Hey, good, that's it. Just get it in there. Now what you want to do is do, oops, I knocked the camera. Now what you want to do is do the opposite screw on the back side of the toe block. My voice changed there because I watched the toe block go for a walk. Don't do that. So, do this star thing. See how I'm doing the opposite? Same thing. Try to get on the screw. Oh. Will it find it and just bite it? Nope. It's okay. I thought it was lined up. It was not. No big deal. Just take your time. Try to line it up. There it is. There, see, I got it in that time with just my fingers. And just torque it in a little bit. That's it. Not so much because look, this is moved again. And the front moved as well. Crucially, it's all still in one assembly. And now you can put the other ones in. And I see you hear that as it started to get resistance. So we stop. Now I dropped the one last other screw. Where did it go? It's right there. Gotcha. Magnetic tip. It's easy to do. You just grab any kind of magnet, even a body mount magnet, right? Strike, or just leave it on there. And you got the magnet. So then you can do stuff like this and have your screw already on your driver tip. And the last screw, see it's still kind of moved and not straight, so straighten it up. And don't move the plate around too much because you don't want to knock the rear end. That should be bang lined up. Screw it in, but not all the way. A little more. There we go. Now that's loose. Those are loose, but they're in. And that means the front end is mostly assembled and should not fall apart. Now we do the same thing for the rear. We get positioned here. And just got to line this up. Same as before. Get that shock out of the way. And the rear end has mostly stayed intact. And because there's so less chassis plate here, it's actually easy to pop your fingers around like this, like I am. Look, I have total control of the rear suspension right here, just by putting 3 fingers on it, thumb, index, and middle. So that makes my life easier. So while I'm holding this, if you're one-handed and you're kind of, got some talent, and you're feeling lucky, load your driver like I did over here, one-handed, and grab it one-handed, and line it up. Oh, see, I wasn't paying attention to my screwdriver. Knock the screw off. Okay, try again. Line the holes up. And yeah, that's one. And like I said, do the star pattern thing, because it will make your life a lot easier when you assemble it, so then one side won't fall off as easy once you do this. Find the hole, find the hole. Nope. Gotcha. Yep. And get it out, okay. Star pattern, go back to this side. And this one. Where are you? There you go. Okay, and there's the rear. The rear is in. It's loose, but it's in. And it's not going to go anywhere. And you can see at this point, it's just the suspension mounts. Toe blocks. But they're in. The assembly's not going to fall apart, and that saves me from having to re-shim it. And, you know, like flip the chassis over after putting the rest of the stuff on and do like more work. So a little bit of patience pays off, because that's that. Now, all you gotta do is the transmission and the front bulkheads. And remember, this piece fell off mid-assembly, but that's easy. It's easy to pop it back in sort of right now. We can do it before we bolt everything else up. And look like easy. The other one fell off over here. Now these are the SX1. These are the extra spacer pieces. These are nice aluminum red ones. They go right here on the front side. So since this is loose and maneuverable, position them as you need. And this is handy, right? Both sides at once. Hold them in place if you need to. And the screws that come out of them are the long ones, right? So I forget what the number is. I think these are like 15s or 18s. 2 mil. Millimeter length. 15 millimeter length, whatever. Line it up, the hole. And line it up with the bulkhead. Yep. So usually if I'd use a power driver, instead of driving in straight, like something weebly like this, go backwards and wait till you feel the click so it's lining up. No, that didn't really line up. Hold on. No, that's not lining up. Let me do this side, because these ones are a bit tricky. There we go. I wanted to make sure I was going in correctly. Oh. There we go. I actually went slightly sideways there, but I wasn't going full blast, so yeah, it was easy to correct that. So I can put these mostly down. I'm not going to snug them up complete, but close enough. I'm going to line them a bit better too. But anyways, those are those. In. And now for the front bulkhead. I have to just line it up a bit. There's that piece. I'm pretty good with lining the screws. I've been doing it for so long now. Okay, and the next are here. These two. And I'll go back later and Loctite them all one by one, because that takes time. It takes a little bit longer, but I will show you on the very last screw what I do and how much Loctite you should use. Now the ESC is going to mount here. I'm going to fix that double side after. It's going to be really easy actually. And now, oh, it's right here. We got to do the brace here. Come on out. This screw. Okay. And now the transmission, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can do a star pattern for this. Just make sure you line up the transmission if it's moved a bit. So I'm lining it up here. There's one, and if you do the star pattern, crisscross, your life is so much easier because then everything is lining up correct. Oh, don't tighten that down yet. There's the front end I want to do first. This particular car. So yeah, so back tracing, everything is in but loose, and I can pick this up and it's a solid car. Well, I say it's all one piece. That's a better way of putting it. It's not solid yet, but it's all one piece. So first I want to do these guys, these extra pieces I put back in down here. Just want to line it up straight, but do these first. I want to do these first. So I just tighten them down. And if when you're doing this at home, just oh, I forgot to show you the dash of Loctite. Right, so let me pull a screw out here. I'll pull this one out. So all you gotta do, get your Loctite, and just go up to the screw, and just coat the thread a little bit. Did I get it? Yeah, just about. Oh, that's too much. That is a little too much. Excuse me. There we go. All you need is a little dab. And you can see it here on the screw. See that? That's just a little dab on one side of the screw, half of the screw on the threads. And when you put it in the hole, it will spread throughout the screw evenly. Oops. But if you put too much, it will like kind of cake up and then could plug the hole or make the screw a little harder to get out later. So I don't want to tighten that down yet, but yeah, that's how that goes with the Loctite. And that's all you need. You just need a little dab. A little dab will do you. And that goes a long way to preserving the rigidity of your chassis with any screw that goes into an aluminum or metal part. And especially if you're running boost on the car, because the boost from the motor and your gear, your transmission stuff, all the drivetrain and the suspension rattles throughout the car. Things do loosen off. You'd be surprised how many times I see screws getting chucked out from underneath cars because somebody either didn't know about Loctite, which is fair enough, until they know about it or they're told about it, or they didn't put enough, or they put too much and it didn't actually get into the threads and all kind of caked up right at the entry of the screw hole. So a couple things for that, but usually once I kind of tell people or show them how to do the Loctite thing, everything's gravy after that. So, but it does go a long way for chassis preserving your chassis maintenance over time, so you can run it longer, harder, and also keeping it together and rigid so that it performs properly. So with that, let's go and I'll tighten these screws up. So these are tight, right? So now I'm going to do the bulkhead, and now the servo mount. This is a locking clutch set to predetermined position that I've set for the most optimal torque, and I can even just fit it in and then manually twist like a solid screwdriver for optimal torque. I'm doing all the braces and the bulkhead stuffs first, and the transmission first. So those are the main chassis components that are going to really level out the upper deck of the car. So that will make the car way more even. The toe blocks, not so much. But I do the toe blocks last. And that way the chassis then should be the most aligned and correct top to bottom. And then by putting these screws in, torquing them down, check your suspension. It's perfect time. Make sure it's free. See that? Beautiful freedom. That way all your suspension settings will translate properly through the car, and the weight will transfer properly, and you will get amazing car feel through your radio, through a wireless signal, which is kind of strange thinking about it, right? You can actually feel all the stuff the car is doing half the time with a high-end radio system such as Futaba or Sanwa. So, check again. Loose, loose, loose. Loose, 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 loose. We're good. The only other things I would have to swap on is these particular upgraded aluminum battery mounts, which will go on, and the front bumper assembly here. 3 screws and it'll go on. But aside from that, the car is now a solid, rigid unit again. See? One piece. It's just flopping around here because it's loose. But if I flip it around, ta-da! One piece. Solid one piece. Okay? So it's a great success. All I got to do is double slide the ESC back down because that's loose. Double slide this back down because it's loose. Swap the battery mounts over and put the front bumper back on and reattach the bottoms of the shocks to the lower arms. And this will run again, and then I can do some retuning, because now this chassis will change the characteristics of the car, and you can see the differences from the, like I showed before, the amount of carbon that has disappeared. But you can also see, even just by me moving things around here, there's a good amount of flex to be had, front to back and side to side. there is some flex here. Now if I take these screws out here, there'll be even more flex, because I could take those screws out and this brace right in the middle, and the car would have a bit more flex, which I might actually do. I can't remember if the instructions on this plate, I don't have them handy at the moment, but if they say to take those out or not. But that's a tune option. You can take the screws out here, take this brace right out, and there will be some more weeble wobblery in there, bendy wendery. Yeah, so Aunt Viv just leveled up. Aunt Viv has now gone to the full ballet dancer routine, where she just killed that routine, owned it, and yeah, that's the one everyone remembers. So Aunt Viv is now done, swapped over, and Viv is in what I'm going to call her dance uniform under here. Sorry, the dance setup, because she gonna dance good. Alright, so that's that. Thank you for watching. Let me flip it back over so you can enjoy the plate. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. If you've got one of these, what do you think? If you've driven it or not, if you're curious, drop me a message or whatever and let me know what you're thinking. I have driven this plate on another car. This was on a chassis, a RX, the rear-motored SX3, basically. So this was on there, and I drove the RX out of the box. I liked it a lot. I put this plate on it. Factory car just swapped the plate, and it made the rear motor car feel like a mid-motor car, which was really uncanny because I kept the rear motor set up, and this has been set up for rear motor, and that was really interesting, as I felt like mid-motor balance on a rear motored car. So that was kind of neat. And I didn't do too much more tuning now that I've pulled that plate off of that other car, and it's now gone on this car, which is the Aunt Viv. So Aunt Viv is leveled up, and this particular car has quite a few upgrades on it. Rear shock tower, the aluminum shocks. It has a bunch of Reve-D hardware up front, and some of it, some SX1 bulkhead hardware here that has actually been drilled and what do they call this? Concaved or whatever, lightweight, basically drilled into whatever. And yeah, just to shed some weight. A previous owner did that for their personalized setup, but it does make a difference here and there depending on your preferred feel. So there's a good amount of Reve-D front upper hardware here, shock tower as well. There's a front bumper going on it as well here. So there's a fair amount of upgrade on this car. There's still more that could be upgraded, but yeah, this is going to make this perform quite wild. I'm really excited. And we'll get some updates to you somehow in another video, or I'll film this and the other one driving, which I think is the plan, and film it on board and up close and all that broadcast stuff I like to do. Trying to get more content out this year. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you're thinking. And eventually I'm going to try and get the third option plate, the narrow high traction boy, give it another name. And yes. Thank you for watching. You're going to see more of this type of stuff soon. And yeah, talk to you later. Bye.